Hi, I'm John Pearson, and I am here just outside, just north-ish of Barcelona, and we're here testing the sort of big sensation of this year, really, the new Stark Varg off-road bike. So we're here to test the bike in a place called Golf MX Track, which is a pretty awesome facility, but obviously Enduro 21 viewers, readers are more interested in going between the trees rather than around motocross tracks. But so the first impressions I had of the bike were, you come into it thinking, right, this is a completely new bike, and it's billed as a comparable bike to 450 MX bikes with a lot of tuning capacity to tone it right down and change it. So the first sort of session out there, it did feel like, wow, what am I doing here? This bike feels light, it's manageable, felt lighter to me than a 450 KTM, Yamaha, whatever, but it felt more powerful. So that's my first sort of strong impression, was that there's no engine braking, there was not much noise, but I had a bike that was very powerful. On the MX track, when you're using the throttle hard and you're using a lot of power up, naturally it's the battery life, which is displayed on this smartphone on the bar pad, is going down quickly. So in a 10-15 minute session, I think I was using 25-30% of the battery. But to be honest, in that amount of time, I'd had enough on the MX track anyway. I'm not built for that. But as soon as I got out in the trees and we were doing a similar amount of time riding, it changes dramatically, and suddenly you're using up 1 and 2% because you're using much less throttle. I was switch backing through the trees, and it's we haven't had the opportunity to test the bike on a trail doing the normal things that trail riders, enduro riders do. So I can't sort of categorically say yes, it will do 5-6 hours on a battery. But you can see how it could do, because I've been using the power curve turned quite high up, and if you turn that right down, which is honestly, it would be better if I had been riding with 50% of the 60 horsepower. Quite a few components around the bike which are Stark have manufactured and designed and done it all themselves, and the swing arm is quite nicely made part of the bike. But this is some of the details, like the chain adjusters, they've come up with their own kind of unique solution here. It's a clicker system. You just adjust it very easily with a clicker. Some of the maintenance aspects of this bike are so straightforward, and that's one of the selling points I would suggest. It's an easier bike for people who aren't that good with the spanners to work on. It's got a strong list of components, and that includes Galfa brake discs, Brembo brake calipers, Brembo master cylinder. These are parts which are already fitted, already established. We already trust them. They work very well. Up front, they manufacture their own triple clamps. They're really sweet. They're really nicely engineered pieces of kit. That's the kind of quality on this bike that's it justifies the kind of the price, but it's also you can see that there are no parts here which are kind of just adopted because it's a cheaper way of putting a bike together. There's a quality about it, and that stretches to the suspension. KYB suspension is very well established. One thing of interest to woods riders and enduro guys is the linkage. It's quite a bit higher than a lot of bikes with linkage. I forget the figure they said to us this morning, because that's a long time ago and I'm simple, but it's got quite good ground clearance, so getting over logs and things is not so bad. It's got this nice big bash plate here, and it does go over those kinds of obstacles without too much stress. So overall, what can I say really? There are some questions that are unanswered because we haven't been able to answer the questions. This is quite a controlled test of a motocross spec bike at a motocross track. I've busted out the box a little bit and gone in the woods, and that was a cool little extra bit. But I can't answer questions about battery life. When you've gone through your 500 cycles of charging and the battery starts to lose its power, what kind of situation you're going to be in when you need to replace the battery. Those kinds of questions aren't going to be answered here today. But this is part of a process which is very much ongoing. If you compare this to a few years ago, when there was hardly any people buying Tesla cars. It's an obvious comparison to make, but there are hardly any Teslas around. Now, it seems to me that they're everywhere. Wherever you drive around, they're everywhere. So I've got no reason to expect that that won't happen with this bike, with these kinds of bikes, but particularly these people are here. Stark, I hear, straight off the bat, doing the right thing, making a bike that works. It's slender, it's nice, it's easy to ride, it's powerful if you want it. You can tune it from 450 monster power to tiny little 125 4-stroke power if that's what you're happy to ride. You know, it's user friendly, it's quiet. All those things are true. So, you know, the future is kind of here. We can't ignore it. So we still have some questions to answer, but hopefully we can do that in the fullness of time. We can get a bike and we can explore how well it works in an enduro environment. But in the meantime, I'm going to be much more technical and write much more of a feature on Enduro 21, so stay tuned.